Call to order the Finance Committee meeting for August the 2nd, 2016. Our first item of business will be a presentation by the Deputy Mayor.
Thank you. Y'all join me up front. Yes. Yes. Yes, it is on. It's out here. Christy, if you'll join me up here. Speech, yes. Did you write? Did you write your own speech, or
No, I did not.
Did Nan write this? See, they kicked me off that committee before you got on there, so I really didn't get to find out how much you're doing for Mike Stewart nowadays, setting his agenda up and backing up Nan. So yes. I missed that part of it. But the proclamation says, Christy has been working for the city as the Environmental Control Office Assistant 2 since December 27, 2011. While working for the city, Christy has learned a lot about the city of Muskogee and has come into contact with a lot of good people she would not have otherwise had the opportunity to meet. You missed me. Christy has a huge appreciation for the work city employees do and now understands the operations of the city and why things are done the way they are. Before working for the city, Christy worked at Action Group Staffing as a staffing supervisor, which helped her form relationships with the Public Works Department and the city in general. Without her position at Action, Christy is not sure she would have been given the opportunity with the city and is grateful for her previous experience in bringing it here. Christy is overjoyed with the fact that her whole family is serving the Muskogee area in some sort of public service capacity. Christy loves where she lives and loves that her family has grown into community service as well. Congratulations on being named August 2016 Employee of the Month.
Thank you.
I've been working here, I've had a lot of good guidance. Named Jim, Mike. Sorry if I'm looking at everybody. Jason. And I've learned a lot more about the city, and I've learned to appreciate the workers and what they do. Now that I've been here, and I have a better understanding of what's going on.
Thank you very much for your service. Each one of the council and the staff would like to shake your hand. Thank you.
All right, item number 1, please.
Consider approval of Finance Committee minutes of 7/19/2016.
Reviewing of the minutes, are there any corrections?
Move for approval.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to approve the minutes. Any further discussion? Roll call, please.
Deputy Mayor James Gully.
Yes.
Janie Boydston.
Yes.
Patrick Cale.
Yes.
Marlon Coleman.
Yes.
Wayne Johnson.
Yes.
Ivory Van.
Yes.
Derek Reed.
Yes. Item number 1 passed. Item number 2.
Consider approval of claims for all city departments from July 14, 2016 to July 27, 2016.
Do we have a report from the Purchasing Committee?
Yes, sir. The purchasing committee met, even though we were two members short, so we didn't have a quorum, but we did review the report of claims, and after that review, I move for approval.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to approve the claims. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Deputy Mayor James Gully.
Yes.
Janie Boydston.
Yes.
Patrick Cale.
Yes.
Marlon Coleman.
Yes.
Wayne Johnson.
Yes.
Ivory Van.
Yes.
Derek Reed.
Yes. Item 2 passed. Item number 3.
Consider approval of amendment number 3 to the agreement between the City of Muskogee and Olson and Associates Incorporated, previously known as Tri-State Engineering, adding additional construction services for the Muskogee Industrial Area infrastructure improvements, South 45th Street East and South 43rd Street East between Chandler and Hancock, or take other necessary action.
Mr. Stewart.
Yes, Prog Mahajan, our civil engineer, is going to address this item for us.
I tricked you and turned it off, Prague.
Down the bottom.
Good afternoon, members of the committee. Good afternoon, Chairman. Just to give you a brief overview of the project, this project was initiated by the Port of Muskogee for improvements on 43rd Street and 45th Street. And initially, it was just 43rd Street and sewer extension there. But Mr. Scott Robinson from the port had visited EDA, and an EDA rep visited our city, and it was under discussion. It was mentioned that if you add 45th Street, it will make it more amenable for EDA funding. And since we added EDA 45th Street reconstruction onto that, and we won the EDA grant on the basis, so we added more scope to the work for Tri-State Engineering there. And this project went out to bid. Glover was the lowest bid on this. And now we want to have construction services added on to Tri-State and Tri-State Engineering. But by that time, Tri-State was brought out by Olson and Associates. That's why you see Olson and Associates. This amendment is with Olson and Associates, previously known as Tri-State Engineering. And since the project also came under bid, under budget, we wanted to use professional services, professional inspection services, and Olson came back to us with a proposal of using Jerry Lawson. And Mr. Lawson has worked with the city before on the Centennial Bike Trail project and has a good track record with us. So that's where we agreed on that. And the second part on that was the quality assurance and quality control services on that, again as an estimate. That'll only be used if we want to use it. And the last part on that is where we want to use them just construction services, which they will be just attending progress meetings, doing site visits, and they'll be doing submittal reviews, shop drawing reviews, as well as pay request reviews. So that's the last part on this. I'll be happy to answer any other questions you have.
I have a question. I want to be certain we're understanding this correctly. This is being done because it's needed, not just because we have money left over.
Oh, no, sir. This is needed.
Okay.
43rd Street is in a bad state. That has not seen maintenance in the last, I think, correct me if I'm wrong, Mike, in the last 20 years.
Okay.
Over the years.
And what's the total amount?
Total amount for the project is about 2.1, which is what Glover bid.
What's the amount that you need tonight? I'm sorry.
On the total amount, what we need, it'll be about 50, 67, and 15, about 91.
91, and we do have that.
Oh, we do.
We have in excess of 500,000.
Okay. Thank you.
Any additional questions?
Move for approval.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Roll call, please.
Deputy Mayor James Scully.
Yes.
Janie Boydston.
Yes.
Patrick Kale.
Yes.
Marlon Coleman.
Yes.
Wayne Johnson.
Yes.
Ivory Van.
Yes.
Derek Reed.
Yes. Thank you. Item number 3 passed. Item number 4.
Consider approval to accept the lowest and best bid from Simpson Carpentry in the amount of $47,225 to repair 3 structures, and Tom Crabtree in the amount of $47,100 for 3 structures, for a total of $94,325 to repair a total of 6 structures through the Muskogee Rehabilitation and Revitalization Program, or take other necessary action.
Mr. Garvin.
Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, the Inspections Department received and reviewed bids to repair 6 structures underneath our housing program. The total cost to repair the 6 structures is $94,325. We are recommending approval of the lowest and best bids to Simpson Carpentry in the amount of $47,225 to repair 3 structures, and Tom Crabtree in the amount of $47,100 to repair also 3 structures. Again, the total cost is $94,325. This is being funded through a grant from the City of Muskogee Foundation in the amount of $300,000. This will be the first 6 structures underneath this new grant cycle. Just an FYI, up to date, we started this program back in 2007. Got the first house repaired in 2008. Since that time, we've repaired over 217 structures at a cost just a little over $3.6 million. So it's been a very good project for the citizens of the City of Muskogee. A copy of the bid packet is or a copy of the bid tabulation sheet is in your packet, and I'd be glad to answer any questions.
Move for approval.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Any further discussions or questions?
And may be recognized, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Garvin, all this goes through and everything's on schedule. When will the next bid packet be available, you reckon?
Typically, we give them about 60 to 90 days to repair the structures under each bid packet, so we'll probably have another one coming up in about another 2 to 3 months.
Around October?
Yes, yeah. And typically, we'll roughly probably be able to do about 16, 17 houses this go-around, this grant cycle.
All right,
So
thank you.
you'll probably see 2 more bid packets before it's over with.
All right, thank you. Turn the floor back over to you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Any further questions? Roll call, please.
Deputy Mayor James Gully.
Yes.
Janie Boydston.
Yes.
Patrick Kale.
Yes.
Marlon Coleman.
Yes.
Wayne Johnson.
Yes.
Ivory Van.
Yes.
Derek Reed.
Yes. Item 4 passed, and that was our final item.
So we'll now call to order the Public Works Committee meeting. Item number 1, Ms. Burnett.
Consider approval of Public Works Committee minutes of July 19th, 2016.
Any additions or corrections? I'll entertain a motion.
Move for approval.
Second.
A motion and a second. Any discussion? Roll call.
Deputy Mayor James Gully.
Yes.
Janie Boydston.
Yes.
Patrick Kale.
Yes.
Marlon Coleman.
Yes.
Wayne Johnson.
Yes.
Ivory Van.
Yes.
Derek Reed.
Yes.
And the motion carries. Item number 2.
Hold a public hearing and take action on the approval of an ordinance rezoning the property located at 550 North Cherokee Street, more particularly described in the ordinance, from C2 General Commercial District to R1 Single Family Residential District, and if approved, authorize staff to revise the official zoning map of the city to reflect said change or take other necessary action.
We are now in a public hearing. Mr. Garvin.
Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, the applicant, Charles Raper, is requesting to rezone property from the C2 General Commercial District and a Agricultural District to the R4 Multifamily Residential District. The property is located on North York Street. It's next to Ketawall Trail and Kimberlea Drive. It's just east of the duplexes that's currently on Kimberlea Drive. The reason for the rezoning is to allow it to be developed residentially. The applicant is proposing to build a triplex on the property. Now, looking at the existing zoning land use within the area, starting with the site. Currently, the site is zoned C2 and A.
Whoa,
and
whoa,
is-
whoa, 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 let's time out. Are we on item number 2? And aren't we talking about Cherokee Street?
Yes, we should be.
I think you're covering item number,
Okay, they switched them from the planning commission agenda to this one, so let me go
sorry,
down.
Gary. Do we need to back up and start on item 2?
There,
I
I'll
was-
start with that one, and then I'll
I was
back
a little
up.
confused on where we were,
Okay.
sorry.
On this one, the applicants are requesting to rezone property from C2 General Commercial District to the R1 Single Family Residential District. This property is located at 550 North Cherokee Street. It's on the corner of Martin Luther King and Cherokee Street. They are downzoning the property from commercial to residential. The reason to downzone it is to allow it to be for its current and historic use, which has been single-family dwelling. Now, looking at the existing zoning land use, starting with the site, it is currently zoned C2, and there is a very large single-family dwelling on the property. To the north, which is across Martin Luther King Street, is zoned C1, local commercial, and there's a couple of single-family dwellings. To the south is zoned C2, general commercial, and it is a vacant lot. If I'm not mistaken, we did demolish a single-family dwelling on that lot a few years ago. To the east is zone C2 General Commercial, and it's some type of storage facility that the property owner is using. And to the west, which is across Cherokee Street, is zone C2 General Commercial, and it's Ready Ice Company. Now, if you look at the future land use map, it does indicate transitional residential on all the property east of Cherokee Street. Transitional residential can be any type of residential zoning. It's typically used as a separation or a buffer between residential and commercial or industrial. So typically it's more duplexes and multifamily. But again, it can be any type of residential zoning. Therefore, the rezoning to the R1 will comply with the comprehensive plan and land use map, and this item has been recommended for approval by both the Planning Commission and staff. Be glad to answer any questions.
Is there any reason why? Oh, I'm sorry.
If
Go
you don't
ahead.
mind, Mark.
Go ahead.
Seeing that no one has signed up to discuss this issue, we're going to close the public hearing and open it up for committee questions. Now, Mr. Coleman.
Okay, my only question was, is there any reason why it wasn't already residential?
I'm not, it's been zoned commercial for years, and I
Okay.
could not find why it was originally zoned commercial. But if you do look at the land use map, it definitely shows everything east of Cherokee Street as
Right.
being residential. So it might have been, which there's a large area, it might have been some overlay zoning that was done years ago because there's a lot of
Right.
commercial within that area.
I was just curious because there's a house already on it, and I'm like,
And
okay,
there's
so
several
why wasn't
houses
it?
on the
Right.
commercial zoning through there.
Okay. Thank you.
Just out of curiosity, Gary, being that it's already commercial, you can put anything on it being commercial. What's the advantages of moving it from down? I'm a
Well,
little confused.
as you know, when we changed our zoning regulations, before the zoning, each zoning classification built upon one another. In other words, if it was on commercial, you could have anything from residential on up to that.
That's what I was thinking.
With our new regulations, they're standalone. What they're thinking
Okay.
about doing, they have two large lots and a large house. The property owner is trying to get it zoned so that maybe one day his daughter can build also a house on the property next door. And he decided to go ahead and zone both to get it the appropriate use.
Okay, because I was still under this concept that they were still
Yeah.
building, but they're standalone. Okay.
They are standalone now, so it has to be zoned for that use.
Okay, I was just a little confused. I'm glad y'all can keep up with all this. I can't. Any other questions for Mr. Garten? I'll entertain a motion.
Move for approval.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any questions or discussion? Roll call.
Deputy Mayor James Scully.
Yes.
Janie Boydston.
Yes.
Patrick Kale.
Yes.
Marlon Coleman.
Yes.
Wayne Johnson.
Yes.
Ivory Van.
Yes.
Derek Reed.
Yes.
Motion carries. Item number 3.
Hold a public hearing and take action on the approval of an ordinance rezoning the property located on North York Street and Katua Trail, more particularly described in the ordinance, from C2 General Commercial District and A Agricultural District to R4 Multifamily Residential District, and if approved, authorize staff to revise the official zoning map of the city to reflect said change or take other necessary action.
We're now in a public hearing. Mr. Garvin.
Okay, I think I went halfway through this one, but I'll start over.
Thank you.
The applicant, Charles Raper, is requesting approval to rezone the property from the C2 General Commercial and the A Agricultural District to the R4 Multifamily Residential District. Property is located on North York and Ketawall Trail. It's located just east of Kimberley Drive, where all the duplexes are currently located. The reason for rezoning the property, he wants to develop it residentially. He is proposing to build a triplex on the property. Now, looking at the existing zoning land use, currently the site is zoned C2 General Commercial and A Agricultural, and it is undeveloped property. To the north is zone C2 General Commercial, and there's a daycare center. On farther north is the convenience store and car wash and several apartments. To the south is zoned A Agricultural, and it's undeveloped property. On farther south is Bacone College. To the east is zoned R2, two-family. There's duplexes and vacant lots that are zoned for duplex. And to the west, which is across York Street or Highway 16, is zoned A Agricultural and is also undeveloped property. The land use map does indicate multifamily residential along both the Ketawall Trail and Kimberley Drive. Therefore, this request does comply with the land use map and comprehensive plan. And it's been recommended for approval by both staff and planning commission. Again, be glad to answer any questions.
Again, we had no one to sign up to speak to this item, so we're going to close the public hearing. Any questions for Mr. Garvin? If not, I'll entertain a motion.
Move for approval.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Any discussion or questions? Roll call.
Deputy Mayor James Scully.
Yes.
Janie Boydston.
Yes.
Patrick Kale.
Yes.
Marlon Coleman.
Yes.
Wayne Johnson.
Yes.
Ivory Van.
Yes.
Derek Reed.
Yes.
Motion carries. Item number 4.
Discuss traffic signal warrant analysis on the signal at Houston and Eastside Boulevard and take possible action to authorize the removal of the traffic signal at said intersection and replace the same with a two-way stop sign for the east and westbound traffic or take other necessary action.
Mr. Stewart.
Yes, a while back, this light, and by the way, this light at Eastside Boulevard in Houston is controlled by a span wire light. It has poles on opposite corners and then a span wire that goes from the two poles where the signals actually hang from the span wire. And that signal light has been hit several times by trucks. And the last time it was hit, it was knocked out. And I asked permission from city manager to pursue a warrant study on it to see if that was still a light that or an intersection that needed to be signalized. I don't know if you remember, but just to name a few businesses that used to be on Eastside Boulevard that are no longer there, We were talking about it this morning, and Otasco used to be there. TG&Y used to be there. I don't know if you remember, but the employment service used to be pretty close to that intersection. KTUL, Channel 8 used to be there. And that's why the signals were originally put down Eastside Boulevard. Now that all these businesses are gone, the traffic is not on Eastside Boulevard like it used to be. So when we had the warrant study completed by TEC, Traffic Engineering Consultants, it came back and found that the signals are no longer needed at that intersection. I did supply that cover letter in your packet. It very clearly states that intersection could be controlled by stopping Houston at Eastside Boulevard. We intend to put stops. We're going to use the 36-inch stop signs if you approve this. We intend to put it with the LED stops so that we can make sure and capture the attention of the motorist. We're also going to put cross-street traffic does not stop, and we will also place stop aheads if you approve this item. We feel like this is a more appropriate way to control this intersection, and we recommend the approval. By the way, the cover letter is in your packet, but the complete warrant study is available at PublicWorks if anybody wants to come and look and review it. And if need be, we can have traffic engineering consultants sit down with them and explain it. But it very clearly states that it could be controlled by a two-way stopping east and west at Eastside Boulevard and let Eastside Boulevard free flow at that intersection. We recommend approval.
Thanks, ma'am. Any questions?
I have a question about the warrant analyses, which is a general question. Can we use them as to determine where stop signs are needed, where there's no signal or stop sign? Because as I travel along northwest side of town particularly, there are a lot of heavily trafficked areas with no stop sign, and they're four ways.
We usually use TEC when we're looking at traffic signal lights,
Mhm.
and we have an in-house procedure for stop sign requests.
Okay.
But if we're wanting to move from a four-way stop to a signalized intersection, then we
We
do
use the
need
warrant
that.
analyses,
Yeah,
so.
warrant analyses.
So otherwise, they could just contact you directly if there are some areas where there's just no stop sign or traffic light.
Absolutely, and we do stop sign requests, and if it is on one of the highway system streets, we also involve ODOT.
Okay.
So just so you know.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
I travel Eastside Boulevard quite a bit through my day, going back and forth to the schools, and I think this would be a really good change here for the flow of traffic. And also, you know, in the past, Houston was just heavily traveled, and that's why that light was needed. And now the direction of traffic has changed, and I think this is just a good way of the city keeping up with the changes of traffic in our community. So I'm really glad to see this move forward. So I'd make the motion that we go ahead and approve this.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any other discussion or questions? Roll call.
Deputy Mayor James Scully.
Yes.
Janie Boydston.
Yes.
Patrick Kale.
Yes.
Marlon Coleman.
Yes.
Wayne Johnson.
Yes.
Ivory Van.
Yes.
Derek Reed.
Yes.
The motion carries. Item number 5.
Consider approval of the appointment of Darrell Benners to the Wellness Initiative Committee to serve a 4-year term beginning on August 1st, 2016 and ending on July 31st, 2020, or take other necessary action.
Councilor Reed.
All right. This appointment is Ms. Darrell Venters. She has requested to be on the Wellness Committee, a retired educator in our community, a lifelong resident of Muskogee. Many of you may know her daughter, Delby Venters Walker. She was a champion in getting the Wellness Initiative started. Delby has taken a job in McAllister, so keeping it in the family, Ms. Venters wants to step on board and continue to work with the initiative. I would recommend approval of this appointment.
I would second that. I think Darrell will do a great job.
We've got a motion and a second. Any discussion? Roll call.
Deputy Mayor James Scully.
Yes.
Janie Boydston.
Yes.
Patrick Kale.
Yes.
Marlon Coleman.
Yes.
Wayne Johnson.
Yes.
Ivory Van.
Yes.
Derek Reed.
Yes.
The motion carries. It's my understanding we need to strike item number 6, and we have one citizen wishing to speak to this committee. Mr. Van?
Give me a minute, Mr. Gully.
Okay. Mr. Van, name, address, and 3 minutes, please, sir.
I had it all set up there. Okay, on Ivory Bend, 911 Holden, Muskogee, Oklahoma. Last council meeting, we had OML up here, and I was going to play you something that OML said.
Ad valorem property tax for general operations. That puts our cities and towns overly dependent on that local voter-approved sales tax. More people going to the internet, you're losing more money across the board. A significant piece of legislation that will hopefully is House Bill 1875. We have worked for the last 5 years with the Oklahoma Tax Commission through the Municipal Liaison Board that was put in place about 7 years ago. They meet regularly the third Friday of every month at our offices. And we had a piece of legislation that was basically an accountability bill to the tax commission saying, can you tell us how you're spending the 1% retainage that cities and towns are paying you to collect and remit our sales and use tax? And they go like, well, I don't think we can do that. And I said, well, guess what? We have a couple people that can help you accomplish that. So it started out a pretty contentious relationship, has now settled into a very respectful, good working relationship as a result of that. Tony Masson, the director of the tax commission, said, yep, I think we have been overcharging you to the tune of about 100%. So for the city of Muskogee, what that means is an extra $123,873.24 reoccurring every single year, because that 1% retention that you were paying has been dropped down to 0.5 cent instead of 1%. So I can go on and on. I just think it's critical.
This right here, what she brought it last week when she was up here. We didn't really need OML to get this done. I know y'all jumped for joy when she said $104,000 that we get this every year, but we didn't have to have her come up here and tell us that. We would got that anyway. So like I say, I'm still against the OML, and like I said, it's a waste of money. Also, another point I wanted to bring out was Hilldale School. I think you made the wrong decision on that last week also, because to me, every school in Muskogee is important. But it seems like, we favor Hilldale with the police department because they got mentors. In Cherokee School, they have mentors. In every school, they should have mentors. Like we have a lot of pastors here in Muskogee. They can go out to Hilldale and mentor those kids as well as those police officers. They maybe do a better job because, like I said, that's what a pastor's for, you to sit down and talk to you over different problems. And I very disagree with that last week on that vote. Because, like I said, Hilldale is no important than Muskogee High AR, where my kids go to we spend $50,000 to them. But, like I said, you heard her say yourself that she would rather have Muskogee Police Department at her school than the security that we have at AR and Muskogee High. But I just wanted to clarify a few things on this OML and also with Hilldale. And I would like invite everybody out tonight. We're having the thing at the parks, Robertson, Rotary, and LA National Night Out. So let's go out and eat some good old hot dogs and have some fun with the kids and get in the water and just have a good time tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, Ira. Seeing no further business, we're adjourned, and we'll call to order the special call meeting of the Muskogee Redevelopment Authority. Roll call.
Mayor Bob Coburn, Deputy Mayor James Scully.
Here.
Dan Hall, Marlon Coleman.
Here.
Janie Boydston.
Here.
Wayne Johnson.
Here.
Patrick Kale.
Here.
Ivory Van.
Here.
Derek Reed.
Here.
Item number 1.
Consider approval of the Muskogee Redevelopment Authority minutes of July 5th, 2016.
Any additions or changes?
Move the approval.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Roll call.
Deputy Mayor James Scully.
Yes.
Janie Boydston.
Yes.
Patrick Kale.
Yes.
Marlon Coleman.
Yes.
Wayne Johnson.
Yes.
Ivory Van.
Yes.
Derek Reed.
Yes.
The motion carries. Item number 2.
Consider approval of Amendment Number 1 to the Economic Development Agreement by and among the City of Muskogee, Oklahoma, the Muskogee Redevelopment Authority, the Urban Renewal Authority, and the 3RP Limited Partnership with respect to Increment District Number 3, City of Muskogee, and authorize the city manager to secure previously authorized additional funding to maintain an ongoing development of the urban renewal area or take other necessary action.
Mr. Miller, and thank you for not using acronyms. Makes it easier on me.
Okay, members of the authority, I wanted to just bring you up to speed a little bit on what we're doing in the urban renewal area. As you know, we've basically kind of completed phase 1 as far as the city's portion. We've built out, we've done what we were supposed to do, and we've used the money as we were supposed to get that first area of retail ready for development. The exciting news is that we've already got people saying, what can we do next? Can we go next door? When are you going to do phase 1A or phase 2? And so As we look to that, we say, all right, it's time for us to look at the funding we have available and move forward with Phase 2 and Phase 1A. And so there's two things here that we can do to try and meet that developer demand, to try and increase sales tax for the city. And so the first thing is to look at what did we do in Phase 1, and do we have revenue or funding available, and we do. It's about $980,000 that we had in for infrastructure. We've fulfilled all the requirements for that. And so now what we want to do is say, now that this funding is available, can we shift it and do some of the Phase 2 work and Phase 1A work with that and get moving forward with the next phase of development? Similarly, and so that requires kind of amending what we did with the first part of the TIF. The second part would be to say we originally authorized more than $16 million for the development of the entire area. We have about $6 million that we haven't really gone out and gotten. We only borrowed what we needed for the first part. Now, as we approach the second part, we need to go ahead and secure that financing, and that takes a little bit of time. And so as we're seeing projects that are coming down the road, we need to be ready to deal with those as they come. And so we're going to ask for authorization to go and solicit bids and solicit potential avenues for financing for that money that has already been authorized. It's already part of the original TIF district. We just haven't drawn it down yet because we didn't need it up till now. So those are the two things that are before us. I'd like to just kind of throw that out as basic information, and then if we've got questions or comments about how we work together moving forward, we can address those now, and I'm happy to take your questions.
Mr. Miller, you may have answered this, and I just may have been oblivious in my hearing. But when we talk about going into Phase 2 and doing work, what is the actual work that we're looking to do with these funds?
Okay, there's some additional land acquisition. Mm-hmm. There's site prep. Basically, if you look out where Phase 2 is now, it's got trees and it's not ready. You can't go put a site there. $4.5 million is dedicated and identified as specific infrastructure projects for the master plan that we adopted for Phase 1A and Phase 2. So that's got some infrastructure, water, sewer, some street access, locating utilities, that kind of thing. Basically, things that we have to do to get that ready for people to build and locate businesses on that area.
And we already have these funds, or we're asking that we use these funds from someplace else?
So we have the $980,000. It's in the bank. We've authorized it. We've borrowed it. We didn't need it for Phase 1. We'd like to use it on the next phase. Okay. So that's money that we have available if you guys take action today. The Urban Renewal Authority will address it as well, and with proper authorities, we can go ahead and get started on with some work using that funding. And then, as we continue, the additional $6 million that we've been authorized to borrow but have not yet borrowed. Once we find a lender that will come on board for that, then we can use that money again as well. So the answer is both. We do have some of that already, and some of it is money that we need to go and borrow. But it's, again, previously authorized as part of the overall TIF package. We just didn't borrow it, so we wouldn't have to pay interest on it.
Okay. So we're preparing the site in advance of a developer. We don't have a developer. In other words, that part of it would still have to be bid out.
Yes. I mean, we have had interest from more than one developer about buying property within that area. Mm-hmm. We certainly will try and get the best deal for the city as we develop that land in the best possible use for the city in that area. So this isn't committing the city to any project. It's committing the city to have funding available to do projects as they come.
And I just don't remember from the last time with Phase 1, but the site preparation, that bid process, do we do that internally in terms of doing the work to prep the land, or do we bid that out?
If I could answer that question, on Phase 1A, which is where the vector site is for Three Rivers Plaza,
yes, we
just sold the land.
Okay.
They did their own site work.
They did their own site work.
Like that. What we're looking at now is development of Phase 1B, which is on the other side near the Jimmy's Egg, and then Phase 2, which is further toward the east.
Okay. So that again, that will be bid out.
The site work that we have to do, and part of this has to do with Project Sunshine. And so we went ahead and want to go ahead. I mean, we don't have anything in place yet to
Right.
any documents or anything like that, but we want to go ahead and move forward with land acquisition because that's been the plan all along. And so those funds will be used to acquire the land and some of the parcels that we need where we have an immediate interest, not just from Project Sunshine, but from other developers. And then at the same time, with the second part of this agenda item, we'll go ahead and, with your authority, seek authorization to borrow the additional funds to have those available for the infrastructure needs that we'll have for the remaining part of Phase 1B and 2 and most of, actually all of 3. The master plan that was developed, we had engineering cost estimates prepared on that, and it was, I think, just shy of $4 million.
Okay.
Is what we needed to do all of that. But again, on the second part of this item, we'll just authorize us to solicit loans before any interest rate is solidified. We'll have to bring
Right.
that back to the authority as well as the city council to improve indebtedness. So this is just the preliminary step that'll allow us to reach out and determine what funding is available.
Okay.
Any other questions?
Move the approval.
If I could make a recommendation on the specific motion for approval. Since we do not have the final draft of amendment number 1, I would recommend the motion be to authorize the city manager upon receipt to execute the same based on the terms related only to the $980,000.
So moved.
Second.
So we're not working on the $6 million project as far as looking for funding?
That part of the motion would be acceptable as stated.
Just so that we're all clear, would you restate the entire
Oh,
motion
sorry.
that you're recommending?
Sometimes I drift on you.
To authorize the city manager to execute amendment number 1 upon receipt, and further authorize the city manager to seek the remaining funding sources related to the original TIF amount.
Okay. Motion and second. Clear? Roll call.
Deputy Mayor James Gully.
Yes.
Janie Boydston.
Yes.
Patrick Kale.
Yes.
Marlon Coleman.
Yes.
Wayne Johnson.
Yes.
Ivory Van.
Yes.
Derek Reed.
Yes.
Motion carries. Seeing no further business, the redevelopment authority is adjourned, and we will now call to order the special call meeting of the Muskogee City Council. Roll call.
Mayor Bob Coburn. Deputy Mayor James Gully.
Here.
Dan Hall. Marlon Coleman.
Here.
Janie Boydston.
Here.
Wayne Johnson.
Here.
Patrick Kale.
Here.
Ivory Van.
Here.
Derek Reed.
Here.
Item number 1.
Consider approval of amendment number 1 to Economic Development Agreement by and among the City of Muskogee, Oklahoma, the Muskogee Redevelopment Authority, the Urban Renewal Authority, and the 3 limited partnerships with respect to the Increment District Number 3, City of Muskogee, and authorize the city manager to secure previous authorized additional funding, maintain the ongoing development of the urban renewal area, and take other necessary action.
Mr. Miller.
I think we forgot a 2 in
Yeah,
there.
there's something missing.
This is the same item we just discussed. We can, I can present it further, or we can take any further questions.
I guess what throws me off is the term ongoing development. We're only talking about continuing the good work. We haven't designated a developer to just keep going.
That's correct.
That's
Okay.
correct. There's no individual, no entity specific has been identified.
Thank you.
Any further sale or development will be subject to an economic development agreement and/or sales contract that'll be brought before
Okay.
the Urban Renewal Authority, MRA, and the City Council.
Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions or thoughts?
Move for approval.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Roll call.
Deputy Mayor James Gully.
Yes.
Janie Boydston.
Yes.
Patrick Kale.
Yes.
Marlon Coleman.
Yes.
Wayne Johnson.
Yes.
Ivory Van.
Yes.
Derek Reed.
Yes.
Motion carries. Item number 2.
Consider approval of a disaster emergency proclamation for the July 14, 2016 weather event, or take other necessary action.
Mr. Boulding. Floor is yours.
Okay. What I'm asking for is a declaration or a proclamation issued by the mayor to address the issue of the disaster that occurred that was declared by the governor that occurred on July the 14th. This would allow us to ask for assistance from the state. As you know, we had several damages out there that approximately $92,000 worth, and we will be asking for assistance to recoup that fund. With that, in conjunction with the last two disasters that we've had within the last year, we will be looking at trying to, recoup a substantial amount of money from the government, from the feds that on the first two disasters. But since the last 7 counties did not qualify in this last disaster, we are addressing it at a state level.
Thank you, Mark.
I make a motion we approve that, and I really, this is another time that I really want to thank, our Public Works and Fire Department, Police Department for their response.
May I add to that, please?
Sure.
I want to tell you I appreciate what Mark Bowling does. He has came in and got more funding back for us in the short time he's been here than we received in several years in the past. He does a phenomenal job, and PROG works with him really, really well, and I want to commend both of them.
I really appreciate you bringing that up, Mike, because FEMA is not the easiest to work with on the paperwork, and you know that all too well from the ice storms and previous work. But it is effort that does pay off, and I appreciate that very much. You're working an effort on this because it's real money. That's my motion.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any other discussion?
Yes, Mr. Bowling, a question.
Sure.
On disasters like this, Mr. Bowling, with all the high winds and stuff and trees and getting knocked down, it was a program one time that Jimmy Morris started here in Muskogee. He went to Oklahoma City and talked to somebody up there with the state with emergency management on getting storm shelters. And they said, like, when you have a disaster, you're more amped to get those storm shelters. Have you checked on anything like that? Do you know anything about that?
In the past, that we've had mitigation programs at the state that have allowed individuals to buy safe rooms and purchase those safe rooms and assist in that. Currently, the state has a program in which you can sign up on for it's on the OEM website, in which they have a lottery that draws out those particular winners. 500 a year are selected, and that program is in place right now. We can apply for some mitigation money, but again, we're competing with everybody when we do that. So that option is there, and we will be looking into that, along with a lot of other programs that we're going to be looking into applying for mitigation for.
I think it'd be a good option because I missed it by making one mistake. When you get the storm cellar, you got to pay for it out of your pocket, but they would reimburse me so much money. And the thing is, I went ahead, bought the storm cellar, put it in, paid it out. And what I did, where I made the mistake was, I should have waited till the grant came through, because we got a grant. And it was only 35 people here in Muskogee that signed up for that. And all these, and that put quite a bit of money involved in getting these storm cellars in. People could apply for it. And put them, they only had 35 people. Can you believe that?
Like I said, that program is available still at the state level, which each individual can go out and sign up on the website.
Does the county still participate in it also?
I'm not sure if the county is participating in anything like that. That was some of the old mitigation programs that were pushed several years ago, and they're getting a lot tighter on their money. Oh. It's more competitive out there for all the different mitigation projects that are available, and that's some of the reason that you don't see as much of it anymore. But that 500, believe it or not, you said the story about Muskogee only having 25 people. 35 at the state level, they still have slots available sometimes, so they do a reselection on them, and some of those don't qualify. I mean, some that get selected do not qualify, and so those are available also. But that option is there. Like I said, it's on the OEM website for the state.
That'd be some good information for someone. Thank you, Mr. Bowling. I turn the floor back over to you, Deputy Mayor.
Thank you. I've got a motion and a second. Any other discussion or questions? Roll call.
Deputy Mayor James Gully.
Yes.
Janie Boydston.
Yes.
Patrick Kale.
Yes.
Marlon Coleman.
Yes.
Wayne Johnson.
Yes.
Ivory Van.
Yes.
Derek Reed.
Yes.
And motion carries. Item number 3.
Consider approval of an executive session to discuss and take possible action on the following. Pursuant to Section 307B2, Title 25 Oklahoma statutes, consider convening an executive session to discuss negotiations with the International Association of Firefighters, Local Number 57, and if necessary, take appropriate action in open session.
Can I have a motion to go into executive session?
Move for approval.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. Roll call.
Deputy Mayor James Gully.
Yes.
Janie Boydston.
Yes.
Patrick Kale.
Yes.
Marlon Coleman.
Yes.
Wayne Johnson.
Yes.
Ivory Van.
Yes.
Derek Reed.
Yes.
Motion carries, and we will now go into executive session. Welcome back to the special call meeting of the Muskogee City Council. Roll call.
Deputy Mayor James Gully.
Here.
Marlon Coleman.
Here.
Janie Boydston.
Here.
Wayne Johnson.
Here.
Patrick Kale.
Here.
Ivory Van.
Here.
Derek Reed.
Here.
Matt, is this one yours or is?
Yes, Deputy Mayor. It's number 3A. Pursuant to Section 307B2, Title 25 Oklahoma statutes, council did convene an executive session to discuss negotiations with the International Association of Firefighters, Local Number 57, and after being fully briefed, no action is necessary.
Thank you very much. Seeing no further business, we are adjourned. Thank you for your time.